All right, so section 5.7 covers the quadratic formula. Now we've already learned about the quadratic equation. What's the standard form of the quadratic equation? You might remember. So ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Yes, very good. So standard form where a, b, and c are real numbers. And which one of these numbers cannot be 0? A, right? We can have the b as 0 because a lot of times that middle term cancels out, particularly with certain types of like squared binomials when we have a squared difference. And then c can be 0. But a cannot be 0. So we use the standard form of the quadratic equation to create a derivative that is called the quadratic formula. The quadratic formula is used all the time and in a lot of different fields, from engineers to actuaries and a lot of different things in between. All right, so what we're going to do with this first part is we're going to derive the quadratic formula. Now, the one thing that I would definitely make sure that you've got memorized or easily available is the quadratic formula. That's what we're going to end up with at the end. But I also ask that you be able to solve this derivation on an exam. So all we do when we have a derivation means we start with our standard formula, and when we're done, we have the quadratic equation, which is essentially our sum or our solution. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the derivation that they have in the box on the bottom of page 213, but I'm going to do it as I work through an example so that you can see the steps with something besides the ABC. All right, so we know in the case of this example, this one is the example we're starting off with is our basic quadratic equation. So we have A equals what? 3. B is 5. And C is 1. All right, so this is our basic ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So the first thing that we do is we subtract c from both sides. So that means I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides, and I end up with 3x, actually, you know, I'll keep that, 3x squared plus 5x equals -1. This should look pretty familiar since we just finished the section where we learned about completing the square. So all we're doing when we create the quadratic formula is we are solving for x. But the quadratic formula means that you can start with the quadratic equation, and knowing what your a, b, and c is, you can go ahead and plug it into the formula and then just simplify, and you're done. So it saves you all these steps that we've been learning because we need to understand how they work. But the quadratic formula sort of gets you all the way to the end. All right, so you subtract c from both sides. Then we divide both sides by a. Now, if you have no coefficient of your squared, x squared, you don't have to divide, all right? It's understood that it's a 1. But in this case, so they have, when we divide both sides by a, we end up with x squared plus b over a x equals -c over a. But what that looks like in a problem just means that we divide every term by 3, and we get x squared plus 5/3 x equals negative 1/3. Now our step 3, we complete the square. Not deleted. So we add 1/2 times b over a squared, which just gives us b over 2a squared to both sides. Okay, so that means we have x squared plus 5/3. This is just what we did in the last section, plus b over 2a. Well, hold on, what's our b? 5. 5 over 2 times 3 squared. And so that's negative 1/3 times the same thing, or plus the same thing. 5 over 2 times 3 squared. So in this case, we need to simplify that. So we end up with x squared plus 5/3 x plus 25 over 36. And negative, I'm going to change my 1/3 to 12 over 36 plus 25 over 36. Everybody good on where that came from? I had to find a common denominator. And 2 times 3 is 6, and 6 squared is 36. And so that gives me my final equation, x squared plus 5/3 x plus 25 over 36 equals negative 12 plus 25 is 13/36. So step 4, we factor trinomial. And I've already combined the terms on the right side. Got ahead of myself. Okay, so what does x squared plus 5/3 x plus 25/36 factor to? Anybody know where I get that? So it's the term that we squared. It's the b over 2a. Close, but it's 5 over 2 times 3. So it's 5/6. So this right here is the second term inside your squared binomial. So b is 5. So it's our 5 and then the 2 times 3, which is 6. because that's what we squared right here to get that third term, that C term. Don't sleep in my class. You should be taking notes. I counted off enough for that last week. All right. So now we have a square term so we can solve for x. So what we're looking at here is in your book as x plus b over 2a squared equals negative 4ac plus b squared divided by 4a squared. So we have factored it down into a squared equation that we can solve. That is the 5 over 6 squared. Because what's 5 squared? Where did it go? Is that okay? So this is the 5, 6 squared. So that's the C term in your quadratic trinomial. And so that goes in your binomial. Because of this right here. That's what this is. It's B over 2A. But we squared that second term inside the binomial. So like x squared is x times x, and 25 over 36 is 5 over 6 squared. It's 25 over 36. Okay. So the next one we do is we apply the square root theory. Sorry, property. And so this is the square root of x plus 5 over 6 squared equals the square root. I'm going to go ahead and separate it into my numerator and my denominator. And then these cancel out. And we get color here, x plus 5 over 6 equals this plus or minus. Yeah. I'm just going to go ahead and keep that together and simplify. So at this point, you've got this part of the derivative, x plus b over 2a, so that's 5 over 2 times 3, which is 5 over 6, equals plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac equals 2 times a. Now, we can easily see that 2 times a is 2 times 3, so that matches the 6, which is the denominator in our constant term. B squared, that's 25, minus 4 times 3, which is 12, and c was what, 1? So what's 25 minus 12? 25 minus 12 gives us 13, and that matches what's inside of our square root in the numerator. All right, and so of course the last thing we do here to complete the square and solve for x, what do we have to do? We have to subtract 5, 6 from both sides, and we get what? X equals negative 5, 6 plus or minus the square root of 13 over 6. Now, I would definitely rewrite that as negative 5 plus or minus square root of 13. They both have the same denominator. You can combine them. And we are not solving it because we're not going to fool with an irrational number, square root of 13. All right, and this gives you the quadratic formula. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. If I see that derivation on a quiz or test, I'm probably will take it away. But you need to know how to use this formula. And I would be doing you a disservice not to show you where this formula came from.
So we don't have to do that.
You're gonna, now that we have this formula, I'm just gonna show you how to use it. And it is literally a plug and chug.
I'm just glad we don't have to do that.
No. So that is what we've been doing this whole time. We've been solving for X. So we learned how to complete the square. We learned how to use the square root property. The quadratic formula, the reason the quadratic formula exists is because it eliminates all of that. And you just plug in, you get your quadratic equation and you plug your ABC into the quadratic formula, simplify, and you're done. You've solved for X. We just needed to teach you all of the steps before then so you understood where the heck this thing came from. It's just a derivation of the quadratic equation. You want to do this. The closest thing you would have to do this is to rearrange the quadratic equation so it gives you your ABC, so you know what they are. Okay, so let's look at it again. So if I give you, yeah, it probably took up a whole page easily. If I gave you x squared plus 4 equals 5x. Converts to standard form. All right, so what do I have to do to move this to standard form? Okay, so I need to subtract 5x from both sides. What else do I need to do? Move that 4. Is that what I heard? Right, we got to move the 4 to the right side and move the 5x to the left side. So we end up with x squared minus 5x equals negative 4. Hold on. Do we need to move the 4? What's standard form? Equals 0. So no, we do not need to move the negative 4. We just need to move the negative 5x. Sorry. Okay. So what's my A? 1. Yes, but no, right? A, B, and C are the coefficients of your variable. So A, now this example right here is the closest thing to what you're going to be doing on a regular basis. Stay with me. So A is 1 because that's the coefficient of x squared. What is B? Negative 5. Remember, the standard form is all addition, ax squared plus bx plus c. So if you have a subtraction, then that negative goes with the coefficient of the following term. C is 4. All right, and then what's my quadratic formula? So now we just plug that into the quadratic formula. So x equals negative 5, which we'll get to, plus or minus square root of negative 5 squared minus 4 times
Yeah, AC
4 times 1 times 4
over divided by 2 times.
divided by 2. Right. Yeah, we're going to, a lot of the simplification here is easy. See how much easier this is than getting that whole dividing by 2, working with all those, we will get a fraction eventually, but working with fractions, complete it using the square root. Like this already has applied the square root property, solving by completing the square, all of that. So now we just simplify. So negative 5 becomes 5 plus or minus, keep that square root. What's negative 5 squared? Positive or negative? Positive, yes. 25 minus 4 times 1 times 4? 16. Divided by 2. All right, so what else? That is like ginormous. Hold on. What else do I need to, now what do I need to simplify? Yeah, remember a square root, if you have an expression inside of it, a square root is treated like a grouping symbol. So this is 5 plus or minus, what's 25 minus 16? Oh, that's so nice. A perfect square divided by 2. All right, last step, x equals 5 plus or minus 3 divided by 2. Yes. Say what? Oh, because you have to subtract the 4ab, the 4 times 1 times 4 before you can apply the exponent and the square root. If it was multiplied, yes, you could. But because it's adding and subtracting, you cannot. You have to combine those first. Yeah. Go ahead. All right, are we done? No. No, we want answers. So x equals 5 plus 3 divided by 2, which gives us 8 over, and 5 minus 3 over 2, 2 over 2, which is 1.
Wait, that's actually.
All right. So it's 4 and 1. Both are both, but well, and of course, if you're doing it in a word problem, yeah, maybe you're going to get a range. But okay, let's look at another example. Okay, this one, they want us to give both exact solutions and decimal approximations. For now, we're just going to focus on the exact solution. 4x squared plus 12x equals 11. What do I have to do here? Yeah, move that 11. So subtract 11 from both sides. To put this in standard form, we end up with 4x squared plus 12x minus 11 equals 0. Okay, so define your parts. No, we don't have to do anything. You just have to define A, B, C, and then plug it into your quadratic formula.
A equal 4. B equal 12. C equal negative 11.
And C is negative 11. Exactly. So when I put that into my quadratic formula, x equals, what is this? Have we memorized it yet?
Negative B.
Negative B.
Plus or minus.
Is it squared?
There's plus or minus the square root. The quadratic formula.
Yeah, the quadratic formula. Okay, so negative B plus or minus.
Negative B is out of the square root.
Oh, right. Sorry.
Negative B plus or minus the square root of B squared. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Minus 4AC over 2A.
You got it. And now you just plug and check your math. as I check your math. All right. See, it's not that bad. You just have to have the formula. And because I'm so nice, I don't make you memorize the formula. But it's not a hard memorization. But I mean, it's good to have it as a reminder. You guys should have it. You're gonna do it enough. You should be okay. Okay, so B is 12. So we have negative 12 plus or minus what? Now, minus 4. There we go. Divided by 2 times 4. 2, 4. Now we just simplify. All right. So y'all behave in the back. Uh-huh. Well, not the same thing. 12 squared. Okay. Minus. Okay, 4 times 4. Okay, 4 times 4 is 16 times 11. Okay, so for me, it's easier to do 44 times. Excuse me. 44 times 4. So 6, carry my 1. Is it 256? Excuse me. So 6, carry my 1. 4 times 4 is 16. So 176. But it's negative, right? 176. Well, it's negative, negative. Well, I've got a negative, negative, which makes a positive. I just kept that one in front of the 4, so subtraction. I'm gonna make sure I did that right. 16, carry my 1. Yeah. So negative 176. And all of that is over 8. 144 plus 176. 320. All right, so we have negative 12 plus or minus the square root of 320 over 8. Okay, so I know 320 is 16 times 2. Or I know 32 is 16 times 2. So we can break this down into 32 and 10. And then this breaks down into 16 and 2. So there's a perfect square. That's my 4 squared. But 10 is 2 and 5. So right here, I have 2 squared. So 4 times 2, so 8 squared is a perfect square inside 320. So I'm going to simplify this to negative 12 plus or minus 8 square root, what's left? Just the 5? 8 square root of 5 over 8. I should probably check and make sure that's right. Negative 3. No. Oh, right, they reduced. Oh, yeah, this is good practice in reducing. Okay, so when you have numbers that are separated by plus or minus, you can reduce, like, do you see how the 12, the negative 12, the 8, and the 8, they're all positive? So you have to reduce all 3. You can't just reduce like the negative 12 and the 8. But what's the greatest common factor of those 3 numbers? 4. All right, so if I divide by 4 on all of these, so 4 goes into 12 3 times, goes to 8 2 times. And so this simplifies to negative 3 plus or minus 2 square root of 5 over 2. And so that's our exact. You if they, in this case, no, because you've got an irregular or irrational number. So now they also write that, you could write that this way too. I like I like having it, excuse me, I like having it all as like one fraction, but you could also divide that 2 back up, so it's -3/2 plus or minus. And if I have 2 square root of 5 over 2, these cancel. So it's like -3/2 plus or minus square root of 5. That does simplify it even more, but I like, if I'm gonna have a fraction, I kind of like the whole thing to be over. Yeah, okay. Okay, so if we did, they have us solving it. Obviously, we can't get exact answers because we have an irrational number. That square root of 5 never ends. But you could have x equals -3/2 plus square root of 5. We'll get to that in a second. X equals -3/2 minus square root of 5. Approximately. All right, so let me put this in here. Okay, so we know that's 1.5. So -1.5 plus the square root of 5 is 0.736. They rounded it down to the hundredths place. Oh, they said that. Yeah. So you'd round it to 0.74. And then -1/2 minus the square root of 5 is -3.736 or 74. Yep, which is what they got. But you would have to have a calculator to figure that out. All right, so in example 3, they have the I. We'll do that. We'll not do the word problem. So last example, we have an imaginary number. And they also go through how to check your answer. Let's look at this one. X squared minus 10x plus 29 equals 0. What's my A? 1 plus B, -10, and C, 29. All right, X equals B, -B, right? -B plus or minus square root of B squared minus 4AC divided by 2A. All right. So B is -10. So what's -10? 10 plus or minus square root of. So what's -10 squared? 100. Minus 4 times 1, whatever. What's C? Yeah, we'll figure that out in a second. And anything times 1 is itself, so I'm just not going to write it. And divided by 2, just 2, right? 2 times 1. All right. 10 plus or minus. Is it? Yeah. Carry my 3. It will be, yeah. 100 minus, carry my 3, so 8, 9, 10, 11. So 116, is that what you said? Divided by 2? Okay. Okay, so what? It will, but right now, what is it? -16. Okay, so what is the square root of -16? Plus or minus, well, it's already got that. Yeah, 4i. Why is it not -4i?
Cause I
makes
cancels out.
Yes, the I takes care of the negative. So whenever you pull anything out of a square root, it will never be a negative number. That's kind of included in the plus or minus because it's still like a negative number squared. So it could be, yeah. So if you ever have an answer option and it's like negative something I, that's wrong. That's never going to be it. The I takes care of the negative entirely. All right, so that divided by 2. Ooh, that got weird. So we have 10 plus or minus 4i divided by 2. Okay, can we simplify it a little more? Yes, we can. Get rid of that 2. So this is 10 divided by 2 and 4i divided by 2. So this gives us what?
5 plus or minus 2i.
Yep. All right, we all good? Make sense? It's not bad. Bless you. All right, let's see what we got here. Well, so the 2. Okay, sorry, go back. Negative 16, right? Square root of 16. It is 4. Or it's negative 4 because what's 4 squared? I mean, 4 16. What's negative 4 squared?
Can be a, can I interrupt you for just a second?
No.
Okay.
Do you know
I
how,
just
do you
bow
know how
down to
tenuous their
these
hold
days,
on this concept is
math,
right now?
I just want, I have yet to say Genevieve, party on one. Yes. Whoop, whoop. And,
I know, right?
Did anyone else win something? Yeah, oh, yeah, congratulations.
The ODEX.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes. I just found out today.
And
I
our
did not know.
NACA championship.
Yeah, I didn't know till today, or I would have said something yesterday in church and thoroughly
Aw.
embarrassed you. But congratulations. Sorry to interrupt you, right? The square is easy, right? Like, you know, whale is a word that can mean a thing you get water out of, a fish that swims in the ocean, or how you feel, or a pause to collect your thoughts. You know, it could be used so many different ways. But 4 squared is always, every time, 100% of the time, 16, right? And 16 is, so math wrong. Yeah. If you need some pointers from math. That's
Yeah.
one thing.
I will send them your
Math
way.
was my friend. Yes. English, not so much. Math, always.
So are you married an English teacher? So y'all got all your bases
Actually,
covered?
she's an English teacher because that's not something
I believe that.
Example, x squared minus 10x plus 29 equals 0.
So what's negative 4 squared?
16.
I gotta finish this point. It's also a positive 16. So
Positive
that
16.
4 could be negative or it could be positive. That's why we have the plus or minus. Only
Yeah.
with in an
So
equation.
either option works. That's where x is always one number unless it's 2 numbers.
Yes.
If it's 2 numbers, it's 2 numbers to x. Because x is any number you want it to be. Which is why x always equals 2. If it's any number you want it to be, then it's always.
You always want it to be 2. Me? Yeah, that's true. That's true. I feel very threatened by his math abilities. One. All right.
Oh, this is recorded.
I know. Oh yeah, I totally forgot he was being recorded. I don't like that one. Hold on. There you go. 1, 5, 8, 10, 15.
Was there a second rough draft due today?